Welcome to Wedding Waffle, a very chatty podcast with three industry professionals covering all things wedding, including your dilemmas, shocking stats, and just general wedding chit-chat. Get cosy and join us as we discuss anything and everything to do with weddings. Absolutely nothing is off limits. Brought to you by Bouquet Bells, together with Flowers at the Dutch Barn and the Red Rose Cake Company. And welcome to episode 2 of Wedding Waffle. I'm Claire from Bouquet Bells and I'm here with
Julie from the Red Rose Cake Company.
And Caroline from Flowers at the Dutch Barn.
And
That's me.
And me. So today's episode we're doing things slightly differently. So this one is called Off the Cuff. And let's face it, we've all been through a hell of a year. It's been a roller coaster, highs, lows, and I feel like every single individual person in the world has suffered in some way because of the impact of COVID and the impact and the changes that it's had on your life. Everyone, it still blows my mind that everyone is going through this together, and it's almost like you're aware that everyone's going through something. I don't know if you get, so it's like I've tried to be a bit easier on people and a bit kinder as well. Like I'm just trying to be so kind because just I feel sorry for everyone.
Yeah.
So we just thought it would be quite interesting, more than anything, I guess, to sort of reflect on the year we've had and just talk about things like on a personal level and as a business level and about weddings in general. And this, you may kind of, what's the word? You may kind of feel what we're saying is like, because it's affected
Empathise.
you. Yes, yeah. You may have been through something similar, and as a wedding business as well, as a business of any sort, you've most likely been hit because of this. So we just, so it's a slightly different format to our normal episodes, but we just thought it's quite fitting, and there seems to be a lot to say, I suppose.
Are we being serious?
We're being
We're
serious.
going to be serious today.
Ooh,
Let's
that's
not going to happen
Not
for
gonna
us,
happen,
is
is
it?
it? It's not gonna happen.
Let's not be too serious.
Okay.
We don't want to do that.
Okay.
Make people cry.
Okay.
No, let's not.
Let's not do that.
Right, so let's start with a light-hearted topic, not. What have you found most difficult during the past year? Nearly a year and a half.
Yeah.
Caroline, do you want to start?
Finances. I find that really difficult. On a personal level and a business level. Mostly because I've had no financial support from the government.
Shocking.
So bad. Like when you're told by the government that you need to find yourself a viable job. Well, no. My job is very viable, thank you very much. I used to be a teacher, which was classed as a very viable job, and it did not pay very well anyway. So financially really difficult. On a personal level, we were trying to pay for a wedding and run a home, and Carl at the time was he'd gone back to university as a mature student, so he had to stop that, and so he started his own business up, so that takes up his finance in that respect, and trying to keep a business going with gusto and happiness is not easy.
No.
When you're kind of like struggling to pay your council tax, which they kept taking, but they don't do it. Still didn't empty the bins anyway. Why did you go to me first? But yeah, that was for me. That was probably one of the hardest things, and not being able to see the people that you love is really tough.
Yeah,
That's hard. I'm not up for Zoom. That's not my thing. I'm a hugger.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Person. Well, you've had it from both angles as well, because you're planning your wedding and you're also a supplier,
Yes.
so you're constantly working with people obviously planning their weddings,
Yes.
and then you're trying to plan yours, which just been
A flop.
a nightmare.
Yeah, so it's been really tough from that in that respect, trying to be, even though sometimes you just want to cry for your own wedding, and then the next minute you have to be all happy for someone else getting married, and I am happy for other people getting married, I am, but I am also feeling it as well, and trying to get people to understand that's quite difficult. And a lot of my couples are brilliant and they understand it, but when it comes to kind of I'm trying to multitask, it's quite difficult in that aspect.
Well, there's been the odd one or two who've been difficult.
Oh, there has. There's been a few rude words, insert here, yes.
Yeah.
And they have been horrendous, and if it wasn't for, like yourself, Julie and Claire, I'm trying to think where I'd be right now with them. But Yeah, like some people can be mean.
Yeah.
I don't like mean people.
No.
There's no need
Be
to
nice.
be rude.
Be kind.
Be kind. There's no need for rudeness, is there?
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's my hardest bit, I would say.
What about you, Julie?
I think I felt initially, I had 19 calls over 3 days,
Wow.
and that I found really difficult. You know, you're trying, it is overwhelming. At the time, I was trying to sort of think about, oh my God, where am I going? And this is a business that I've worked so hard for and been giving every hour to. I'm watching it slipping away in front of me, and I can't stop it. I can't do anything to halt this.
No.
So for me, that first week of things exploding around me, I did feel very overwhelmed by. And you're trying to calm other people down and placate them when they're distressed and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I felt like, well, where do I go?
Yeah, because it's a new experience for you
Yeah,
as well.
I'm struggling here,
Yes.
and I've got nobody I can go to.
But you have to have all the answers there, Julie,
Yes.
because it's your job. But we didn't have any answers. We
Well,
still
we
don't
didn't-
have any
No, we
answers.
don't.
We
didn't
had
know any
no
more.
more information than anybody else,
No.
but you've got stuff flying around you. So I found that very difficult.
Yeah.
And that initial, okay, how are we going to pay the mortgage? We're both self-employed. How is this going to pan out?
Yeah.
And it was a bit panicky, I think, in that first month.
Yeah.
And then a gradual pulling it all together.
Yeah.
I think I'm quite good in a crisis. So once I'd got my shit together, I then sorry.
Also, it's a bit slow on that one.
Yeah, but once I pulled myself together, it was about, okay, what do you do next and how do you manage this? But I found that much harder. So I think I probably went through my worst time in that first lockdown, whereas I know people who found it much harder in the second or third lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were kind of possibly a bit shell-shocked at first,
Yeah.
and then just carried on, and then it hit them later on, whereas I was much calmer in the second and third and took it in my
I
stride.
think with the first one, I know I was had 3 weeks of sunshine because the weather was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So it was a bit naive.
Are we on our
a
summer
little bit.
holidays?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a bit naive, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was one of those people that struggled later on. And I think it was just because it was like relentless.
It was like, here
Like,
we go again,
oh,
and we're
it's
still
like, yeah.
here, still.
And we're still here now.
Yeah.
And it's I think it just impacted people differently, didn't it?
Definitely. Well, so I actually last worked did what I do on the 8th of March 2020. It's the last time I did a wedding show, and I wake up some days and I'm like, oh my God, I'm still here. How on earth have I got through a year and a half of not doing what I do?
Yeah.
But it's been a huge journey of finding different ways and doing all sorts. But I had my first ever panic attack last year when I was sat in this office at the computer, and I was just getting bombarded with phone calls and emails saying, suppliers of wedding fairs, because that's who I mainly deal with, almost expecting me to have a crystal ball first of all, and thinking I had more answers, and just I think what you said, Julie, when you're trying to get your head around the situation yourself, and then you're trying to deal with the unravelling of it all, is quite hard. So it taught me last year that when your body tells you, when your mind tells you as well to have a break, have a break. If you try and plough on through, you're just going to make yourself 10 times worse.
Yeah.
And I tried to continue after having this little panic attack. I tried to carry on and physically just had to stop for a few days and just take a bit of time out. And it was the best thing, really, just to have that moment. And then it was like, right, I'm okay now.
Fresh.
Pull yourself together, and deal with it. Just quickly, are you alright in the sun?
Yeah,
You
no,
are.
I'm fine.
Sure.
Julie's loving it. If you were there, Claire, you'd be like, right, red by now.
Julie's sunbathing.
I go really.
You
Yeah,
are
I
just a
am.
slut.
Well, if you get too hot, you can sit here.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So, looking at something, I guess, a bit more positive. So, what did you feel you achieved in the last year as a business or on a personal sort of level? Julie, you go first.
Yeah, personally, I think I have learnt to be less judgmental on situations and take that little bit more time to think about a situation before I make a decision about it. So, you know, and that with people as well. So being a little bit calmer and a little bit less stressed about things. So trying to take things a bit more in my stride.
Yeah.
Business wise, I actually think my business has grown in lockdown. I think it gave me an opportunity to really look at where I am and where I want to be and plan for that. And so because it went on longer than initially anticipated, I was able to review just about everything. So that was a positive step for me, and I feel like my business is better for it. I think I've got more understanding of how my business works and how I want it to work, and what steps I've taken have given me some insight as to where I want to move it to. Do you know what I mean? So you can see yourself evolving, whereas before I think I was very much doing a day-to-day, trying to manage everything on the hoof because I was so busy.
So it allowed you to take a step back, look in, and think, right, what do I actually, where do I want to go?
Which for me was actually, in my previous job, I was practice manager. So that constant review, reflect, evaluate process is something I recognise, and that's what I applied to my business. So it meant that I looked at every angle of my business and brought it into line, even down to my branding, to my packaging, which is all sustainable. So I did things that I perhaps would not have done had it not been for that opportunity. And so I think for me personally it's been a positive experience, and one that I can springboard forward on.
So positives have definitely come out of the lockdown.
Do you think it's because you've had the time more than anything?
Yes, I think it is. It's having that time and using it in a positive way, because I think all of us, and I speak for the world in this, you know, I'm not too big, I'm speaking for the world, that it's a negative experience we've been through. And for me personally, if I don't hook something positive from that, then I perceive it as being totally negative, which I find quite upsetting. So I have to find something that takes me forward and as on a personal and business footing, and that is, okay, well now you've got this time, use it in a positive way. Otherwise I will sit here and feel sorry and sad, and I will go nowhere.
Go into a bit of a hole.
Which is what I would have liked to have done. But every day I got up, put my makeup on, and let me tell you, some days it took quite a lot. And then went into the studio and planned something, and improving my Instagram, and
I bet doing that though also gave you some sense of normality. Because everything had been turned upside down, and it was like, where's this going? Who knows how long this is going to go on for?
And what day of the week is it? we're on a positive. We've taken from the negatives and applied positives.
So I was just thinking about this while Julie was talking. Personally, and Carl and I say this a lot, our relationship improved like twofold. Not that we had a bad relationship, but Carl said at the beginning, if we can survive this, we can survive anything.
True.
And we survived. And not even by the skin of our teeth, actually. Like, don't get me wrong, me and Carl know how to argue, like, and I love a good argument. But they've dissipated. We have the odd one if one of us in a bad mood and a bit ratty. But we don't argue. We don't argue over important things. We never really have. But we're not even arguing over niggly little things anymore. And I think we've just grown to love each other even more. And I never even thought that was really possible, but we have.
It's probably been make or break for a lot of people.
I think it has for a lot. So it's definitely made us stronger. Don't get me wrong, it still does annoy me how he leaves like his washing on the bedroom floor. What is that about? There's a basket. I even bought a brand new washing basket during lockdown. It's still not working. Anyway, my washing basket. But don't get me wrong. But things like that just aren't. It does bother me. But I'm not getting niggled by things like that anymore because I know like there's bigger issues in the world. And I just make him walk through it every morning until he picks it up. But no, from a business point of view, I find this question a bit more difficult because I don't feel like I've done anything magical in the sense of I've not created anything extraordinary or anything, but like you guys both just said to me before, well, you're still here.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. And I think, if anything, I've learned how to not improve, that's not the right word, but like keep relationships with couples going. And some couples I've like 3 years I've had on my books. And that is like hardcore. And for another 2, some of them. And it's kind of like keeping that going and kind of focusing what do I want for my business, because I toyed a lot about having a shop, because I just thought, oh, every florist has a shop, but actually I don't want that, and I really learned what I don't want for my business.
Well, there we go.
That's positive.
That's positive.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Positive,
yeah, but I think it's. But sometimes, don't you have to go through a process, and even if the answer is I'm never doing that again, that's a positive thing. You've learned from that process and taken it on.
Yeah.
And know you won't go back there.
Yeah.
So
I think I've become a bit more ruthless as well. Yeah. That's
business
Julie's
minded.
fault. Yeah, it's Julie's fault.
I take that on my shoulders. I think I don't consider myself ruthless. I consider myself a business.
Yeah.
And so there are a time and place where you can show a little more compassion, I think, about something, and perhaps do something that is going to cost you more than it's going to cost somebody else. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm a great believer in karma, and I think a little bit of kindness and a little bit of effort
goes a long way.
Does, and you will reap the rewards of that in the long term. So that's what 30 years actually on you does for you.
29.
Be like Julie. We need to all be like Julie.
Be like Julie.
Yeah.
No, please don't. Paul would say absolutely not.
Does he pick up his socks though?
Yes, does he help?
Oh.
But after our lifetime of me doing it, it doesn't bother me.
Bother me.
There are bigger battles to fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? But it doesn't bother me picking them up. I just think, why do I have to do it? You could bloody pick your own socks.
Men.
Boxers, socks, jeans.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, we're literally living on top of each other for the last, you know.
And we're all still with them, so it can't be too bad, can they?
No. Exactly.
What about you, Claire?
So I'm still going. I'm still here. And I took all of my wedding shows online last year, and that saved me. I'm honest, that saved me. And I launched a wedding magazine last year, so that also saved me. And it very much, like both of you, really opened my eyes and made me think what I like and what I don't like about the business. And to be honest, when everything was normal life, I felt a little bit stuck in a rut. Like I had my wedding shows and that was it. There was nothing kind of outside of that, and I felt like, is this it for me? Is this what I'm going to be doing forever? Is this? So it's allowed me to reach in all these different directions and start podcasts as well.
Yeah.
So
Yay, we were all for that.
Yeah, but on a more personal level, I overcame trichotillomania.
You did, which is amazing.
In a nutshell, for those who probably don't know what it is a hair pulling disorder, and I've suffered with it my whole life. And who knew that I needed a lockdown to make me face it head on and overcome it. And I don't know if it's going to be forever. I
think it will be.
I do.
I'm very confident in that. I haven't pulled a single hair out in how many months now? Months, probably 6 months.
I was going to say it's got to be over 5 months.
Yeah, since December, so that's 5-6 months. And
that's amazing.
It's become something I don't really think about now on a day-to-day basis, whereas before it was like consuming me. I felt like it was very much on my mind all the time, and it was there like a little devil on my shoulder. And now it's like I can breathe and I'm free, and I haven't got this awful habit that I'm doing anymore. So yeah, so that's more of a personal thing, and without lockdown I don't think I would have overcome that.
But not only have you overcome it, you've also raised awareness about it, because you've put it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
You've had communication from other people who've experienced it.
There was one lady that has fiddled and pulled with her hair, not badly, but she's always done it. It's always like quite a mild form, I think, of the condition. And she said to me that she never knew there was a medical term for it. And she just thought it was this embarrassing weird habit she had. And it opened her eyes, and then she could go ahead and research it, and it helped her. So the fact that I just helped one person out there just
it's amazing,
blew my mind. So I think that's I just it's good that that's helped someone and hopefully others.
And it's helped you.
And it's helped me.
Yeah.
Talking about it as well has been the best thing ever, because I think if you keep things bottled up, you don't really get anywhere.
No. Well, you're hiding it. You're hiding it from yourself.
Yeah.
Which means you're also hiding it from everybody else.
Yeah.
So the fact that you did tackle it head on, and you're not a confrontational person naturally, so that is quite a big step. And I think probably out of the three of us, that is.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important.
Oh.
I don't know. Please don't go quiet on me.
She's not crying. But no, I think you're right. No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Personal battles are
Sometimes harder than any others. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. But so that was quite big for me. On like I said, like a personal level was bigger than most things that's happened over the last year and a half.
Hopefully, the fact that we've touched on those different, even in our lives, will make other people think that there's what they've been through is not all bad.
Yeah, definitely.
And perhaps even if it's a small step for you, then it's a big step.
Yeah.
What's that saying? Big step for mankind.
Small
step.
The moon one.
Yeah, the moon.
Small step for man, big step for man. I don't know. He went on the moon.
If anybody knows it.
He walked on the moon. And
I wasn't alive then.
We should know that. Anyway, so what advice would you give to couples currently planning their wedding? Caroline, we can pass this advice to you.
I'd say go for it. I really wish Carl and I could just get married tomorrow. As long as it wasn't raining. I'd say go for it. It's been taken out of our hands and we're out of control with ours, but go for it. Life's too short. It really is. Like Carl said to me, he was like, I wish I just, so we got engaged in April 2019. He said, I wish I just married you then. Like if I'd known. And I was like, I wish you had. I wish we hadn't messed around and been so bothered about things.
No, but that's all well and good because it's such
hindsight,
isn't
it?
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
It's such a big thing planning a wedding though, you need time.
Yeah, you do need time. And I think it's that thing though, if I could get married now, I would, and I just haven't got any time. That's the problem now.
Yeah.
But that is one thing I would say to people, if you've got your wedding plan, don't worry about masks or social distancing or dancing. Like there are ways around things. But also, that's not what your wedding should be about. Your wedding should be about the two of you.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. I get it. I'm in it. But ultimately, what's your wedding about? Is it, don't let COVID-19 dampen your spirits that much to the point where you cancel your wedding completely, at least. Because I would just say, just do it and have more flowers. Just buy more flowers. Why not?
Always buy more flowers.
Always have more flowers. Okay.
And cake,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just eat loads. Yeah, have fun. Like life's too short. Yeah.
Doesn't that apply for? I would wholeheartedly back that endorse that, because life is too short, and who knows what's happening tomorrow. So take chances. Even if you come out of a thing never doing that again, it's a chance. You didn't know that before you did it.
Yeah.
So do it. Go for it. Enjoy it. Come out of it. Move on to the next one.
It doesn't even have to be a wedding. It could be anything.
It can be anything. It's about make life as good as you can make it. Enjoy it, because some people don't get that opportunity. And I've never when I used to nurse, I used to think if I die, it's too late, isn't it? I'm dead. I don't know anything about it. But if something happened that I couldn't live life the way I do now, that I never want to sit there thinking, I just wish. And so I've always tried to keep that in mind. And I'm not really successful at it. But
have you jumped out of any planes recently?
No. That's never going to
You
happen.
can't go anywhere.
Upwards.
Damn it.
That's not on the plan, can I just add? But don't confine yourself. Don't be so, don't apply the fences to yourself.
Yeah.
Life applies those controls, so take opportunities when they arise. And then
definitely
make decisions afterwards.
I've literally written on my notes, make the best of a crappy situation and just get married. And if you can't dance inside, then dance into the sunset.
Listen, they say you can't have a dance floor. Has anybody watched Coyote Ugly?
Oh my
You
god,
get on
I
the
love
bar.
that film.
I've never
Shame on you. You need to look that up straight. But
What's it
I
called?
warned you now, it's a chick flick.
Oh, I love a chick flick.
Yeah,
it's
dance
cheap.
on the bar. And,
Get on the bar, the
Oh.
table. I can't think. If you can't
Yeah.
have a dance floor,
Or
get on anything else.
Get
Get
on
it
anything.
there.
Hey! Sorry.
Oh, Caroline.
You are such a dirty bitch.
This is only to my make up. Still together. Totally joking.
So there's going to be some editing.
No.
Or not. Nah, we won't edit that out. Yeah, so if you just want to, just go and get married and just
do it.
do it
Absolutely.
and just make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Have fun.
Life is
Exactly.
too short.
Exactly. So, how do you feel about yesterday's announcement? To give this some context, Boris announced yesterday that he's delaying our freedom date until 19th of July, but weddings of over 30 guests can take place from the 21st of June on the basis that social distancing is adhered to. So here we are the next day. What do you make of it?
I think it's a good step in the right direction. It certainly takes us away from the restriction of 30.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck between, I've got weddings in Wales and in England, so I've got to keep an eye on both,
Yeah.
which drives me insane.
That must be a
It's
nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
It's
So
frustrating.
effectively, I mean, he's taken them one step further in as much as, it's more or less free numbers subject to social distancing.
Yeah.
In Wales, it's 30 inside, 50 outside. In Wales, you can have live music. It doesn't say you can't have live music in England.
It was said earlier that you can have 6 people, like a band, professionals,
As long as they're
inside
more
or
than-
30 outside, but they're
Yeah.
part of your social distance numbers, even if they're coming in into the evening.
Yeah.
So they might not be there all day, but you've got to include them basically in your numbers.
I think
Okay.
so. Your guests need to be musicians.
Yes.
No, but it's only professionals,
Oh right.
not
No, yeah,
amateur. Yeah, it's what
I
the
think it's a
festival's
step in the right direction.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think,
Still annoyed.
I know you are, and I may be in the minority.
Well, no, because it's funny because I was looking at the What About Weddings campaign and everything
Yeah.
last night and this morning, and there's a lot of anger out there.
Yeah.
But there's also it's people are they're either for it or against what happened yesterday, and I'm like you, I see it as it's a step in the right direction. It's not.
It's
back
not what
to
we
normal,
need.
No.
But then realistically, were we going to be back to normal in June?
No, of course
I
we weren't.
couldn't see it.
No.
So I'm like, I'm not surprised, but I think some people are, and some people are very angry about it, and voice that.
I think it's perhaps the word delusional is perhaps too strong.
Yeah,
But I think that if you hadn't, how were we going to go from 30 to everything?
yeah,
It was not realistic.
no,
And maybe it's because we're in the industry and we've been working with those restrictions and
Perhaps.
complying with them that we felt there was a gap and there was a problem. And so for us, perception is different.
yes,
I still think there's problems with it, and I still think I'd like to see more movement.
Yeah.
But it's a step in the right direction.
Definitely,
So I
definitely.
don't want them to go back. I want them to go forwards.
yeah,
And I also think, having lived through, what's the point in living through what we've all just been through
I know,
for the sake of another 4 weeks?
I know.
I think what annoys me is I completely agree with what you both just said. However, they said, here we go, they did say that they would have given notice on what could be happening much more than a week before weddings. I've got 4 weddings this weekend, which are within the 30, and that's fine, we know what's happening. But then I've got 3 the following weekend, and they don't know they're literally going frantic because they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's so unfair, unfair.
No, it is.
It's not fair as a business, especially with a job like mine where I have to order flowers weeks in advance. So, I'm now cutting into my profits by getting the flowers later because that's how it works. It's all live auctions and I'm having to buy them differently. So in that aspect, it's really unfair. I just think it's just been a bit of a shit show. I'm not going to lie, excuse my language, but it has been because the G7, they're all drinking and having canapes on a beach and all of this, but you're not allowed to do it at a wedding. But you can go to a football match with 20 million zillion people, and it's just
I think
there's
it's
no
4,000
consistency.
actually.
Yeah.
It was like 20 million zillion, Julie. But it's just inconsistent, and I wish that across the country it
been
was
some
consistency.
parity,
Yeah,
And
I
I
know,
think that's
I
the
know.
most frustrating part. Like, there are ways with the dancing, like, you know, I know people are gutted about the dancing. For me, that's not the biggest. My biggest thing was the numbers, and I think that is massive. You shouldn't have to cut anyone from your wedding, but you can dance at your table with your mask on, or you can dance outside in the rain. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But they've just left it too late for people, and I think I agree with. I knew that they wouldn't. In my mind, like I kind of knew deep down they wouldn't all just be free on the 21st of June. But
it's at the same time, it's
hope.
not.
It's the worst thing. They say it in Hunger Games, and they're right. Give people hope, and it's the strongest emotion. It really is. Hope and fear, and they put the fear into everyone, and now they put hope into everyone, and now they've pulled it all back,
taking it away.
It's really it's just unfair.
Just like Christmas.
Just like Christmas. Don't start with Christmas.
It's the technicalities, isn't it? It's not the actual decision making. It's the technicalities of it that's the problem. And I don't think anybody can have improved that. I think it's. I think whoever is dealing with it is going to have that. Hindsight's a great thing. You know, when you look at the documentation and the data and all the rest of it, it's the clarity that's missing. So does that mean we can do this or we can do that? And that's because we're in the business, and we have had months, because we have been treated so unfairly, to think about that and dwell on it. So when he announces something, well, actually that met my expectation, but it didn't actually clarify the bits and pieces. And we all listened to that, and yet we still got customers phoning us now saying, what does that mean? I don't know.
Do you know one thing I wish that they'd done, and this is no detriment to any couples, but I wish they'd actually sent us the guidance a week ago so we could get our heads around it as a business, whether it, do you know what I mean, as business owners, and then at least then we can explain it to couples, because I think everyone thinks we know more. We don't. We know what everyone else knows, and sometimes we know even less because we don't have time to watch the news or what have you. So I do wish that in some ways they'd done that, and they'd actually or asked us what we think. Would have been nice.
I know.
Well, I guess that the purpose of the task force is they're the ones doing that.
Yeah, but they didn't exist. They only became, didn't they, because of lockdown.
Yeah.
Because teaching, you've got unions and things that you're part of, and they created that because there was nothing. They never asked for it. The government didn't. It was the industry and some fantastic people going, we need to help these guys. And hats off to them. They've done a brilliant job. They really have. And
the industry's really come together. Massively.
I think so, and I think, you know, as a business, I'm a great believer in community and collaboration rather than competition. And I think the bulk of people have come through on that basis, and that's good to see. And that's another positive. But it is also equally frustrating for us because we're none the wiser about what we can and can't do today.
We still haven't made any money.
No, and we're still not getting any income.
I read the other day that only 50% of businesses have had some sort of financial support
from the wedding industry.
Yeah,
and I think
I'm
that's
surprised
right.
It's that many. I'm actually surprised it's that many. From the people that I know, not many have received, or if they have, they've received a couple of £1,000.
Well, they see their
If you've got a shop or a business, you know, where a selling premises, then you were fine.
You're entitled to more.
But those of us like us, and you know that we make up an awful lot of that marketplace. It's predominantly females working from home. So it's quite prejudicial to, and that's so sad that, you know, all the efforts that have been to bring equality up to date, and here we are, 2021, and we've been penalised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I browsed some of the, because all the messages, as you can imagine, on What About Weddings were flooding in last night. So I pinpointed, because like 3 comments really stood out to me. So someone said, my wedding isn't until September. I could sit back and think, well, it'll probably be fine, but I'm furious for all the couples facing uncertainty right now, and honestly my suppliers probably won't be fine if we carry on like this.
They're not going to be. Whoever that person is, they're right.
Dead right.
They're not. We're not how we were 18 months ago.
No.
We're not. We're tired. Emotionally, we are exhausted.
I think we're drained.
We're really drained. Financially, we're at a loss.
We're still here.
But we're like a shell of people. But as a community, we're tighter. We know where we're going more. But we are going to be exhausted by the end of this year.
Absolutely.
Because Like, I've got 18 weddings in August alone, which, you know, some people doesn't sound a lot, but when you're one person on your own and, you know, flowers don't just magically appear, there's a week's worth of work for every wedding easily.
Yeah.
And you just think, it's overwhelming. It's going to be really interesting, and a lot of businesses have fallen.
I know,
and it's brilliant businesses.
It's going to take everyone a while to recover.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another recession.
Along with the world. I spoke to my dad the other day and he said it's beyond a recession now. Recession, that was easy.
Yeah.
This is on another level. And it will probably affect the next generation as well.
Easily.
So, So another person said, we've been patient, we've been understanding, now we're very impatient and mad and upset. We booked our wedding at the start of 2019 for June 2020, postponed 3 times and still so much uncertainty. So it just breaks your heart when people book their weddings like you can't before the pandemic was even a thing.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because, so I'm very opinionated, but I'm going to say it, but like, we got wedding insurance.
Yeah.
What a load of use that was. Like, it's been it was pointless. They've caused more aggro than anything else.
Yeah.
And I'll probably get onto that in a minute. But it's kind of like, I completely feel the pain. I really do.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think because it's been so unclear along the way, people have moved by, say, 3-4 months. And I know nobody knew what was going to happen, and it's not blaming anyone. But rather than moving 12 months for their own sanity, it's stressful. Honestly, it's so stressful. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel sorry for them as well.
And finally, another person said, and I really felt for this one, I'll have to take a sleeping tablet tonight to force myself to sleep. My brain is working overtime with stress and worries about what tomorrow's decision will be. My wedding is 3 weeks today. I should be excited, but I'm not. And that's really quite sad.
It is sad, and I've got a couple who she told me they couldn't even talk about it. They can't even talk about their wedding because every time they do, his response to the situation is just to withdraw from it, and hers is stress. So they're at opposite ends of the pole, and it's become, she said, you know, it's become a real conflict between them, and that is not what weddings should be. They should be happy occasions. And I said to her, like, box it up, try and put it away until you've got some certainty and you know what's going on, and then restart the planning, you know, redo it as a new thing. But she's a July wedding, so, you know, is it going to take place as a full wedding? It's a Welsh wedding, so
I think, and this is my personal opinion, when you've made a decision, it's just like a little weight's lifted. So like we're in turmoil at the moment. Do we cancel our wedding in France completely because of the situation in France is so dire, and just start all over again? But until we've made that decision, your mind, you just keep it. It's the what ifs, isn't it? Well, we could have had this, and it's letting go of a dream. And I always remember you saying to me, Claire, you shouldn't have to compromise on your wedding.
No.
And that's really difficult to get your head around. Well, I think I'm going to have to, and I don't want to. And I spent 2 years planning a wedding that's never going to happen. What a waste of my time and finances and stress and all of this. And it's so difficult. It really is. And I think this is the problem: is some people in government haven't quite understood how difficult it is for us little fish in this very big pond.
Yeah, and everyone's just in limbo, and we may be in limbo for a little bit longer.
Which is frustrating.
Very frustrating, yeah.
But we've made progress, and that is good.
Yeah.
And
overall,
keep
very
smiling.
positive. just keep going.
Drinking gin.
Just keep swimming. Just drinking gin. Swimming gin.
Swimming gin and smile.
Yeah.
Soak it all up.
So then to round this kind of very chilled, happy episode off, what would you have done differently if you knew COVID was coming, Julie?
in terms of business or personal?
Ooh, both.
I guess I maybe, if I knew something like that, such a hugely impactful thing would happen, I think I'd have got myself on a plane to see the grandchildren and see my grandsons, perhaps have that opportunity before it got snatched away and they started school before I'd seen them again. So perhaps something like that, which is, you know, very selfish, very personal.
It's not selfish at all.
But I think probably for me that is what matters, is, you know, I've seen the babies be born, but he was a baby and he was weeks when I left, and he's now nearly 2.
Wow.
So all of that's been done. He thinks my face is just part of the phone.
Yeah.
With FaceTiming me, as soon as the phone rings, he says, Nanny, it's Nanny. He just assumes every time the phone rings, it's me, which I
is
think
lovely.
it's lovely, but it's terribly sad.
Yeah.
And I've not been able to hug him. I've not been able to, my youngest son is in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
I've not seen him for 2.5 years. So Amsterdam is within driving distance, and I've not been able to do that. So those personal things, but isn't that the same for everybody? Everybody, doesn't matter whether they live around the corner or overseas. For me, I guess it was easier to manage because they are overseas, so not being able to see them was easier, whereas for people who see their family every day, that must be difficult.
Yes. Almost when you know someone's round the corner.
Yeah, and you can't
and
see them.
you can't see,
Yeah.
What do you think?
I actually asked Carl this question, and he actually turned around and said, I would have just got married because we wouldn't have had all this stress. And he said I'd made it a bloody good wedding. But I would have done that. But I think this is really weird. But in like the first lockdown, everyone decorated their houses and all this. Well, we were those people that did not do that. We did do a bit in the garden, but it's only really been the last few months where I was like, we better start decorating.
Yeah.
And I wish we'd just done that. I wish I'd known, so I could have prepared myself for the fact that I'm going to have a year and I'm going to just need to decorate.
Do everything.
Everything, like just things around the house, like, it really stresses me out, just things like that. But no, I would have invested in cryptocurrency.
A
toilet roll.
Would have stocked up on that. Things to do as well.
I
don't know what, like.
I don't know. I would have got married. That would have been my big thing, I think. That would have been my big thing. The rest is all in a bit of is it jest? Is that the word? Yeah, but no, I would have invested in hand sanitizer, masks, and toilet roll, I think.
You would have.
I'd be a millionaire, yeah.
Well, I would have built a time machine.
Oh,
gone back to a happier time and then stayed there. Destroyed the time machine. And in all honesty, if I knew something like this was coming, I probably would have had a mental breakdown. I think a lot of people were like, imagine if we knew that we couldn't operate our business basically for a year and a half.
I'd go to New Zealand.
Yeah,
kind of like
we'd
rocket
have all
up to space.
Everyone would have gone to New Zealand, wouldn't they?
Honestly, the world would have panicked. So maybe that's a good thing actually that we didn't know it was coming. Yeah,
might have saved a bit more than the lead up. Try and win the lottery. Oh, I know what I would do. I would use Claire's time machine, go back, find out the lottery numbers, come back and be like, hey, winner. I've paid for a paper and decorator, and then I've given you both a little bit to keep you going. Thanks very much. I think all you can do is, and it's horrific. I really feel for you, Julie, with the children and the grandchildren, but I think the way we've all got through this is kind of from making out stupid jokes and just like, you can't, if you don't laugh,
supporting each other.
And
that has been very positive, hasn't it?
Yes.
We've established new relationships and different relationships, and they have been very, very supportive, very caring, and looking out for each other, which perhaps may have come in time, but I don't think they would have been as strong as they are.
No,
you certainly learn.
And it's really weird now. The world is slowly starting to open up. People that we've met and been chatting to, so other suppliers and brides and grooms or whatever, online, and been chatting with them a lot. Actually seeing them, meeting them face to face for the first time.
So mad.
Isn't it weird?
It's really
you feel like you already know them.
Yeah. It's like, I know you.
You don't know what they look like. But
yes.
Oh,
you forget that you haven't actually physically met.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
But you're right, you have built a lot of new relationships.
I often think, my mum and dad grew in the war, so World War II. And when my dad went to war, my mum was reliant on communication by letters. And so their relationship grew through those letters, as did lots of young people, where the men went off to war. And I think there's a lot to be said for relationships where there is that burn of a friendship, and getting to know each other slowly allows for a much stronger relationship than today. you know, I'm in the wedding industry, I support it wholeheartedly, but it can be a little bit disposable at times.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I think that wasn't the case, and I think maybe, like you, Paul and I don't bicker a lot, but we can. But we haven't. We've actually, our relationship has been fabulous.
Yeah.
We've really enjoyed each other's company to the point that it's been hard when somebody's come through into that.
It is hard.
Yeah, because we're used to each other,
Yeah,
and
you
we've
get
got our own
yeah.
way of doing things,
Yeah.
and I like that.
Yeah.
Apart from the boxes on the floor.
Apart from the boxes on the floor, which is it's well.
It's not
It's
going
not just
anywhere,
boxes
is it,
on-
really? I know.
Paul leaves
It's
a
not going
part of himself in every single room.
A
So-
trail.
Who does that? Literally. Oh, it drives me mad.
Follow the trail, you'll find the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Has anyone else got this issue? Because I think we could do a whole episode on
Yeah, maybe we should do an
Oh, yeah.
episode.
Oh, we should do it.
Husbands to be.
Yeah. And then get some
Or
guys.
maybe
I don't know which
even
guys,
wives
wives
to
to
be.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'd love to know what they really think of us.
That's what
I
they
don't
talk
care.
about in the pub.
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh yeah, not going to the pub, that's been quite hard. Just getting out of the house. Just do you know actually, you know we said before about something that you've achieved.
Yeah.
I was always that person every day I could not be in the house. And I actually can be in the house.
Yeah.
Or like in my own space. I'm really
Yeah.
comfortable.
It's almost like a
really
bit
comfortable
too
now.
comfortable now. It's like the world is scary, and I just want to stay in
Yeah.
my nice little home bubble
Yeah.
because that's where we found comfort.
See, I disagree. I love being out. I do love being out, but now I'm comfortable being at home. I'm like, oh, I don't have to go out every
good,
day.
yeah.
And
Good
I've
thing.
always been a get out of the house, just do. I've always got to be doing something, and I'm still like
Yeah.
that, to be fair.
No, I
but
like-
I've learned to sort of sit down with a glass of wine rather than doing the dish. I always do the dishwasher rather than doing the dishwasher with a glass of wine. Like just take a bit of time out. I'm not very good at that. Like switching off.
Yeah.
been quite nice.
I've definitely drunk a lot more of the last
Oh
year than
my
I ever
goodness,
have.
tell me about it. Whoa, yes, I think
Yeah.
a lot of us have. You've
Yeah.
either gone one way or the other with alcohol, haven't you? You've either not drunk and got really
Yeah.
fit, or you've been like me and Claire.
Oh, and I've definitely not not got fit.
No, I don't
wish
know.
I had.
But I don't necessarily think that's due to alcohol. Maybe cake.
Don't you like it?
Brownies.
Yeah, you're around it all the time. It must be so hard.
Do you lick the bowl?
I'm not going to tell you.
That was always the best bit when I was a kid. I know I used to make cake mix
No,
just
I
to eat the
don't.
mix. Do you not?
I did when I was young, and when I first started, yes, at the last lick of the, as
probably
I put it in the
novelty.
wash.
Oh.
But there's only so much cake mix
Oh,
you can
no.
take, honestly.
I used to make it and go sit in the toilet and in the bathroom and just make it in a bowl and eat it.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
not that desperate.
I genuinely
Really.
did, yeah.
Caroline, that's the problem. That's not.
I've not done it recently, but as a child I
Is
used
this
to
a
do
bit
that.
cake-mania?
And that
I
was
don't
only
really
last
like cake. I do like cake, but not that much. I like the mix. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want cake mix now. That's annoying.
Right, well,
Anyway.
I think
we should
that
stop.
was a lot.
a
We've
lot.
been that's nearly an hour.
Is
So that's going to have to be split.
Well, no. I just hope you're comfortable at home listening to this, or if you're
A long
listening to
car
us.
journey.
A long car journey, you'll do it. Yeah, so that was off episode 2, and we'll be back with episode 3 very soon. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.